Hey guys, it's Nicky Boy here, the producer for the Italian American podcast. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen me like behind the scenes and sometimes on camera, but I just wanted to come on here and break it to you before watching the next few episodes we have coming up that we've been running into some technical difficulties. Specifically, we've lost some footage of Pat's on-camera angle, and with that being said, you might not see that specific shot of that close-up of just him on camera. You'll probably see a wide shot or maybe something of a wide shot from a different angle, but nonetheless, podcasts will still be coming out, the audios will still be there, and this issue should only be for the next couple of podcasts. After that, it pretty much should be done and gone with. So just thank you so much for your patience, and we'll stick around because, you know, we're going to be making more videos. So thank you so much for your patience and enjoy the podcast.
Hey there, Paisani, and welcome back to another episode of the Italian American Podcast and a belated happy Italian American Heritage Month. It's October. It is not the first show to come out in October.
Over.
It is. It's
We're
almost
gonna
over.
make believe
Yeah.
it's September.
No, we don't. We gotta.
He wants me now to come in and
acknowledge-
change my outfits
Well,
on one day of taping.
we
And
had
make believe it's
some
2 days.
consultation, but
you got a consultant that said I got to change my clothes now.
yeah, so it continues. Well, we're trying new stuff here, right? Because people have said to us they miss the host banter when we used to bring somebody in afterwards. Then we have people say to us they feel like we neglect the guest when they're sitting there, so we don't. So the idea now is
It's too complicated.
it's complicated.
Because you got to bring this video.
Yeah, the
If
video
we had stayed
makes
just
it complicated.
on the Zoom thing,
Yeah.
we would have been fine.
I know you hate it. I'm
Somebody
my
had to
flag's
show
not-
off and
Yeah, I
get
feel like
a
a
TV
tornado.
show.
I'm getting
Can I
waved
put my
at.
flag down
Yeah,
now?
you can put the
Okay.
flag down. The Italian American Month is acknowledged, but we're trying kind of new structures, and I think maybe doing our co-host intro and then introducing the segments that we have might be a good way to do it, because we've got a great guest coming up for you today. But I wanted, because we've recorded so many months, I wanted to spend some time talking each week about what's going on in the Italian America, because we're nonstop, and you've fresh.
So let's just make our day a little longer.
Yeah, let's make our day a little longer. And you were fresh off the heels of the Columbus Day Parade yesterday.
Even though we're supposed to be taping this in September.
No, this they can know is this is
Oh, we're
real.
just gonna
This is-
lie on the other
No,
episodes.
the segments are timeless. The intros are weekly.
Okay,
See how that goes? That
that's-
makes sense. So you just came off the float. That's real.
The parade
Yesterday
was
was
excellent.
Columbus
the
Day.
parade, we had a very good crowd in New York.
This is how many years have we been in the parade? It's been like almost 10 years
A
now.
long time.
Yeah, when this is our first year with 2 floats.
This year, 2 floats.
This year was the first year we ever had 2
Correct.
floats. The
But our
ISDA.
float numbers will grow.
You're plotting.
I want to do 3 floats next year. We had an ISDA float yesterday.
Right.
And we had an IAFL float yesterday.
IFL's our future leaders, and a lot of kids from around the
Kids, they were rocking and rolling. They were the star
Is that right?
float. Absolutely.
Do we have music on it? I didn't make it this year.
Yes.
We did.
It was rocking and rolling.
I'm
That was
proud of that.
the float to be on.
Is that right?
Yes, Louis Nicastro.
Louis been on the show before.
Absolutely. Just roaring up the crowd up Fifth Avenue.
You told me you felt this was a better turnout than the past.
I think there was. I think that definitely since COVID,
Yeah.
this is definitely the best crowd that I remember.
It's interesting because I felt the past couple of years it has been growing, actually. I feel like we're getting more turnout on the Columbus Day Parade. Even the San Gennaro Parade here, like during the feast, the turnout's fantastic. I mean, it's San Gennaro, but like Columbus Day, I've been really impressed by the crowd. So to hear that it's getting even bigger is nice.
I think when people want to know when they should come into New York, it's a great weekend to come in.
It is a great weekend.
Because the weather's nice.
Yeah.
It's fall. There's a lot of nice stuff going on. It's a very busy weekend.
No, I mean, I was saying before, having the baby's birthday, October 6th, my anniversary was yesterday, my wedding. So time so precious, and there's just so much. You've been like, as usual, nonstop. The Jersey's parade was
We have 2 in New Jersey. I think New Jersey has 4 parades left, 4 or 5 parades. I shouldn't say left because there was never that many.
Right.
So there were northern New Jersey had 3 parades, and of course the big one in New York,
But you did Nutley Belleville
Nutley, Belleville, and Jersey City.
and Jersey City.
Yes.
And Newark is Nutley Belleville.
Newark, yes, Newark became the Nutley Belleville parade.
Right, that's the Newark community, and then you came in for this one. You've had dinners. You were at the dinner at Cipriani's with the.
Right.
You've been going nuts.
Everywhere you go,
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah, you were happy Italian
I
American Heritage
bilocated
Month.
a few times.
Yeah, I can imagine you have to. I actually, believe it or not, we took our daughter to Disney World for her birthday.
That was nice timing.
It's her birthday. I got to do it. And we were supposed to be back, but then everything changed with the hurricane, so we ended up staying through and traveling yesterday. But when I landed, I felt bad that I didn't do anything. I really didn't. Listen, I didn't even tell you this.
Okay.
I got in the car. Poor Gia, we dragged her up early in the morning, whatever. I took her down the block from me in Eastchester. We have the Eastchester Columbus Day, and they have a 4-day festa. They have like a fun fair in Lake Isle Country Club. And they have a parade, too, in the morning. But I took her to the fun fair, and we spent the last couple hours before they closed. But it was great. I said to myself, there's not many communities, I don't think, around the country where you can get that kind of concentration of Italian Americans, where you've got a 4-day thing, you've got Zeppeli's, sausage and pepper, you've got groups from the community and restaurants, and it's just in this big parking lot at this country club. And it was nice to just do something on Columbus Day. It felt really nice to be together with other Italian people. I didn't realize I'd miss it as much as I did. I missed the parade.
Well, next year we're going to get horses?
Yeah, next year he wants to get horses.
I'll get horses.
I do it. You don't ride horses, though.
I rode one once at the Villa Roma, like I've told you. The horse was like hours away from death.
That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Give me a half-dead horse. All right, we'll get
correct.
that. Yeah, and we're going to Villa Roma
We are going to Villa Roma.
tomorrow or the day after.
Friday.
Friday we're going.
The Italian-American Disney World.
Yeah, for Italian-American weekend at the Villa Roma.
Correct.
That's going to be...
The last Italian-American resort in the Catskills.
Yeah, imagine.
It's like Dirty Dancing. People ask what it was. It was Dirty Dancing for Italian people.
I cannot wait for this, and it's their Italian... I mean, this is a place that was Italian-American, or had to be nearly 100% of the clientele. Back in the day.
80s, I would say about 90, and that's a real number, about 95%.
Yeah.
97%.
Now it's a lot of...
You have like a church bus ride of old ladies, and you might have 2 non-Italians, but I would say sure. It was as close to statistically 100% as you could probably get.
And now... things change, but it's still going strong.
We're going to see.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's Italian-American weekend, so we're going to have all these different events. So,
it's the Gilded Lily.
It's the Gilded Lily of, and my hope is that we can experience this, get to see what's going on, film a little bit, and then maybe partner with them next year to encourage people to come out.
Are we getting Gabeltel?
I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm working on it. I hope when
that was the specialty when I went up there as a kid.
Every Thursday night they made it.
Every Thursday night they had lamb's brains and a skull.
Lamb skull. I mean, brain was a component of it.
Half skull would come out.
Yeah.
If you wanted it.
I'd love to be able to, I don't know if we could poll, Nikki, maybe we could poll on the bottom how many of our audience know what Capuzzel is when we say it.
That was the big treat.
Yeah.
That was the big Thursday night treat.
My grandfather's brothers, who he predeceased them, but I got to spend a lot of time with them as I got older, used to tell me, because he was one of like 7 brothers, used to tell me that the brothers would get together and make it and fight over who got what. And the eyeball was like this. That's one thing I could eat anything. I don't like eyeballs. I don't know if you have indulged in a lamb eyeball, a sheep eyeball.
Yeah, I mean, they're a little chewy.
It's not my thing. But that was the specialty. That was like the delicacy that everybody went after. So I'm very excited about this. So,
how many vacations did you go on as a child where a lamb's brain and a lamb's head cut in half came out on a plate, and everybody was excited? Some people were skeeved. I shouldn't say that.
Sure.
It's like tripe. They were in 2 tribes. Either people who were very happy about the Gabeltel, like, oh, get that away from the table.
I gotta imagine tripes are more palatable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all depends. It depends on your tummy tolerance of
no pun intended.
The brain tummy connection.
No pun intended on either of those things, because they're factoring in both ways. But I'm really excited about it. It's really the first Italian American Heritage Month thing I'm going to get to do. So I'm looking forward to it, and it's just me and you and Nikki. It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun, yeah. We're driving up.
I don't know. It's the news I heard.
I got to ask Amory. I don't even know
I call these John headaches.
These are John headaches.
How are we going to get there? It's John headaches.
Yeah, speaking of John headaches, one thing we are working on now is our Italian American Christmas album. That's been a big part.
You always got to slip this thing in there.
I'm excited about it. You're not excited about it.
I think I'm going to sound. I think it's ridiculous.
Do you think you sounded ridiculous last year?
Ridiculous. Of course, it's ridiculous.
No, come on. When you
I had to
listen
sit
to
there with a sign with like a Gabi donut. I mean, let's break this down.
Did you think you sounded ridiculous as a singing voice?
How would I know when I've never heard?
You wouldn't listen, did you? You still didn't listen?
I've never listened to an episode. I've never seen an episode. And it's better like that.
It is better like
Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance
Quando
is bliss.
bella l'ignoranza.
Absolutely right. Pat has the policy that keeps us going. We just ignore the product. It's up to you to enjoy it.
You can eat it.
Yeah. You enjoy what we're doing here. Give us a like. Give us a comment. That's what I'm going for.
You have to like this.
Yeah.
If you're Italian, you have to like this to support us, what we're doing.
Oh, this, yes.
To spread the gospel.
That's absolutely true. We need your help. We need your support, your likes.
What's the other thing I got to do?
Subscribe. Like, subscribe,
and
comment. Hit the bell alert. Yeah, all that stuff. Buy our T-shirts, ItalianPower.com. Anything you could do to support what we're doing because we're working real hard. And
we want to build the numbers up for the reason that we want to put out positive image of Italian Americans.
That's right.
We want to show you what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost a news.
Yeah.
We have a lot of stuff going on here.
Yeah, we're changing the show and we're kind of growing into this.
I would say we're growing the show.
Yeah, we're growing the show, yeah.
So change sounds scary. We're not going to do things different. We're going to do more.
Do more, yeah. Yeah. And you know, look, you were on ABC Radio yesterday for Columbus Day. That went really well. You were with Curtis Sliwa.
It was like being back in the 1980s.
You enjoyed that, right?
Yeah, it was like memory lane, you know.
Yeah. And I've heard my friend Chris, my buddy in Jersey, called me as I was coming back from the airport, and he was like, "Is Pat on ABC right now?"
Did he hear me?
Yeah. And I turned it on. I was driving in an Uber. I said, "Could you turn on 770?"
ABC, for those who are outside the New York area, the Columbus Day Parade is big here.
Yeah.
So regular media, like television and radio, cover it. And so we got to talk to WABC Radio.
Yeah, it was really great. I caught the tail end of your conversation with Curtis, who's also Italian-American, half Italian-American, and I was really proud. I was proud to hear it. And
had you been there, we could have done it together.
I know. I'm
Are you
remiss.
really going to get us the horses next year?
I'll do it best I can. I mean,
how are you at horseback riding?
I'm fantastic. I mean, now I'm going to fall and I'll get hurt. I can tell. Now I'm okay. I'm a good enough horseback man.
We got to do a trial.
Horseman.
We can't sign up for this until we do like a...
We should go riding maybe a day of practice.
Like
yeah. Nikki could film that. That'll be good. That'll be good for people to see. I wanted to do the thing. I was telling John Sorella, I don't know, he said he thought you would go. I thought you would not. But I want to do the Transumanza from my father-in-law's town because they do it in September. And they have this one...
As long as we can stop in a Hilton at night. Will they sleep in a field?
It's camping.
Yeah, that's not my
He's
thing.
out. See, I know him. There's not an
I'm sure there's a
ensuite
nice
restroom.
I'm sure
in
there's
the shower.
a nice place with an ensuite restroom.
But you should travel like a Civil War general, where like the camp comes out, you have the campaign shower, the shaving.
That I would have no problem with that. If you could set that up for me, absolutely.
Yes. He needs George Washington,
right,
or U.S. Grant. Yes, he does not want to do like the shepherds do.
No. I am not a shepherd's not my thing.
No, it's not your thing.
We're just rambling now.
Well, no, we're going right into the intro. He was filmed 3 weeks ago.
Oh, so we're going to lie to them about this too. So now we're going to make believe. Just tell them the truth.
Yeah, I told him segments came before. That's how we're doing it now.
And now we're going to make believe. But from going on, now we're going to lie.
You need to remember when make-believe is required. This is not a make-believe. It's okay to say that.
Mr. Rogers? It's like Mr. Rogers, Land of Make-Believe.
The Land of Make-Believe. Yeah. I'm going to get you the puppet.
How would you say
I have
Land
to come in with the Pat puppet
Italian?
like the Land of Make... I don't know. That's a good question. That's above my pay grade. I'm going to get the puppets. Next show you come on, we're going to do puppets underneath. That'll be... It's always been my dream to have puppets. It's a whole other conversation, a whole other episode. You're going to enjoy this one.
Now I get to use the kazoo?
Oh, I got to give you the kazoo with this next episode. Next episode we do, I'm giving you the kazoo.
See that you're born an Italian if you want your life to be great. See that you're born an Italiano and your life will be great.
Some Donadell.
That's a nice. That's Italian.
Hey there, Paisani, and welcome back to another episode of the Italian American Podcast. I'm John Viola, along with my partner in crime, the Italian American Wikipedia himself, Mr. Patrick O'Boyle, and we've got an episode today that we are very excited about. It is, for those of you who have been watching along since we made the transition over to video and YouTube, you have probably seen this book in the background of all of our episodes. Maybe you thought that it was just a really pretty kind of decoration, but in fact it is a fantastic tome on Italian-American baked goods. It is called Dolci. And today we are joined by Renato Pogliafido, who is the author of this incredible work, one that really has earned its place here on the shelf at the Italian American Podcast. So, Renato, welcome to the Italian American Podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, and thanks for the book.
Thank you. I mean, it's amazing to be here. It's an honor.
It's an honor for us.
Oh, thank you.
This book should be incensed before we open it. This is a monumental, but there's a reason. We're not just, like, sometimes I think people think we just blow smoke. We are very, like, we'll bring people on. Like, may I? Or shall you?
Yeah, go.
All right, listen, I'm in love with why am I in love with
Yeah.
this book, right? Because my fear, I have a pine nut allergy, as everybody knows, so I can't buy stuff from bakeries.
Got it.
Right? Because it's risky. It's not fair to a bakery to, they're not running a, cross-contamination's an issue. So for like 30 years, if I wanted to have something that was Italian, I had to make it myself. So I studied it, right? Because I want to get it as close to the bakery as possible. So I really appreciate a good baking book. But this is why I think this book is like, it keeps going up the other level. Because my fear with Italy, Italian cuisine, is that we become Francofied at a time. So this is how it's made.
Yeah.
So we pick a moment in time. So because things have evolved over time, right?
Yeah.
So they pick a set date, and this is the typical pastry of this town, and this is how it's made. And if you add cinnamon, when we don't add cinnamon, that is excommunicatable. And it's like France. We have these very strict rules, and if you don't follow in these strict rules, then this is not correctly done, which was never the Italian way, right? So France is based on a chef, culinarily. Italy's based on a grandmother. Grandmother throws in what she has. She has a little bit of more of this. She throws it in. She experiments. So we're more fluid gastronomically. But I don't know if it's just because Italy's an aging country or Italy's trying to get into the EU mentality of EGP and EGT. So now it's becoming very hard and cold. And I often say, what would have happened to Italy if Columbus had brought ginger back, right? So tomatoes come from the New World. Beans come from the New World. What would we have done if we had gotten ginger?
Yeah.
At the time that we got all these other things in the early 1500s. We would have found a way to use it, right?
100%.
Now Lazio has an EGT for kiwi. That's a New Zealand fruit, if you want to call it that.
Yep.
And now it's Italy now, right? Fica di India, the figs of India, another thing that comes from the New World.
Yep.
And I love the fact that you've amalgamated an American baking tradition with an Italian. I don't even know if amalgamated is the right word. You have to explain what you did here.
Well, I mean, I think that was the thing, and I was really, honestly, I was really nervous when putting the book together because exactly that reason. Because there's this, things have to be done a certain way, and if you don't do it that way, then it's like it's not the thing. But in researching, you find that the thing exists in all different regions in variations. So it's a matter of like, okay, which is the correct recipe, which is the correct ingredient list, But, also coming from America and being an American as well, you're exposed to all these other ingredients and all these other methods of making these recipes. So I had to find that balance of like, I looked at the book as an Italian American. I looked at the book as an Italian, and I said, "Where's that medium? Where does this land?" And I felt like I kind of hit the mark on making an Italian happy and making an Italian American happy without mussing up too many things. Just pushing the envelope as much as I could.
Because your parents are from Sicily.
Yeah, my parents are immigrants. They actually came to Bushwick in '57.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's Bushwick, for those who are not from the New York area, is a neighborhood of New York that was predominantly Sicilian. I mean, prior to that, German and Irish, a lot of beer barons and stuff. But I worked in Bushwick for a lot of years, and my grandfather was born nearby on Knickerbocker Avenue, almost Bushwick. It was the largest Sicilian community in the New York area by far. I mean, it was, and then within 10 years, it was gone.
Yep. They all moved to like Queens or Long Island or Jersey or whatever. But it was my parents, when they moved here in '57, they lived on Star Street right across from what's Maria Hernandez Park now. And their entire town, like just every building was like people from the town. And most blocks had different towns, and they would just like kind of communicate with each other. So it was pretty phenomenal.
I think the only holdover is Chirco's pastry shop, right?
Yeah, and I even have a photo of it in the book.
Yeah, because it's iconic. I mean, especially for Sicilian pastry. I mean, it's got really some of the stuff that you can get there, you can't get anywhere else in the New York area.
No, it's true. My mom, up until like a few years ago, she would make the Chirco's cheesecake because they gave her the recipe, and so she would make it at home.
Wow.
He's obsessed with their marzipan lambs.
I like
yeah.
their Easter stuff.
Yeah.
You know, they make the egg
If
cookies.
you guys ever want to do like a joint plate, see, there's Sicilian. See the love?
Yeah.
John's like, oh, you're Sicilian? Why didn't I have you here sooner? I was just like thrown right in the corner.
Well, we are.
With my horrible Neapolitan coffee, right? My strong coffee.
Sweets
Put
from
me on my
Sicily are
pastiera
the
in the
best
corner. Yeah, I know.
in
Because
Italy.
we never, Naples never produced anything like Sfiatella or Baba Roma pastiera, right?
You know, you want to not for a side, but we're
totally sold us out.
No,
You
no,
threw
no.
us under the
I
truck.
come up sometimes with my companion
What your
side.
mother is.
That's true. You are. Your mother is. But we're filming on the first day post or second day post Feast of San Gennaro. 11 days of total insanity here in Little Italy, and in one of the days, I was thinking of you. I went with Sabino from Growing Up Italian and Sal the Voice Valentinetti, and we filmed a little bit around the neighborhood, and we filmed at Cafe Belle up by the old St. Pat's, and a wonderful family from outside of Naples keeping these amazing traditions up there, and they hand make the sfiadella every day because it's the symbol. And they were saying, this feast is a Neapolitan feast, but everybody is obsessed with cannolis and cannoli contests, isn't it? It's like I said, we do need to make an effort next year to revive the preeminence of the sfiadella as the sort of Neapolitan king of pastry. But it's true, the sfiadella doesn't necessarily get as Americanized as some of these other things do over here.
I don't know how you could.
I don't know.
I often say, like, just to talk shop, because I enjoy someone who enjoys this conversation. I've done a lot of pastiera research.
Okay.
Because that is like sacramentally who I am. Right?
Yep.
'Cause my grandmother's side's from Piano di Sorrento, and that was like the whole year revolved around Easter, and that was it.
That dish.
But I've done a lot of research. Mm-hmm. So the way that it's made in Sorrento
Okay.
is definitely different from the way it was made in the city of Naples,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you look at the really early ones from like 1890, it's very simple. So all you have is grain,
Mm-hmm.
sugar, and cinnamon.
Yeah.
And the orange flower water comes later. So what happens is as transportation improves,
Mm-hmm.
the city of Naples has more of an influence on Sorrento, and Sorrento has more of an influence on the city of Naples, because before like the 1860s, you could only get between those two places by boat.
Yeah.
And then they open up to Corso Italia now in Sorrento. They open up a road that goes straight to Naples. So now, when you tell people orange flower water is an addition, they just go berserko. And they're like, oh, that was never the case. But no, it was,
Yeah,
right?
of
Because we
course.
have the evidence. It wasn't here originally, right? The candied fruit, that's a Neapolitan thing. Sorrento always had cows. Our ricotta was always cow milk ricotta. Naples used our cow milk ricotta, but they also had sheep milk ricotta, right?
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo milk ricotta takes a long time to get there. That comes after the war. You need a car to get there. So my thing is, I've had those conversations. People go berserk and say, no, this is impossible.
Yeah.
Well, just do the research, right? And the reason I bring it up is that evolution is not a bad thing, right?
Yeah,
You
no.
could have all thing. And I love this because I like to substitute cranberries
Mm-hmm.
for amarena.
Okay.
So I'll make a cranberry jelly, and to me, like around Thanksgiving, I'll do the Neapolitan amarena biscotti, right?
Yep.
And I'll put cranberry in instead of the amarena. Everybody loves them. But I would be shot in Italy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How dare you? This is only... But I love this because that's a cranberry is like an American thing,
Yep.
right? And the amarena cookie, and the amarena is great too. You can
Yeah,
have both,
delicious.
right? The amarena cookie, and you can just swipe out the amarena, put the cranberry in, and you have an American Thanksgiving cookie that has the best of both worlds. And I love that. I said something that I've done that I'm proud of. I love that concept.
Yep.
And that's what this book, I think, that's how I interpret your book. I don't know if it's correct.
No.
That's
That-
my
that is
interpretation.
basically
the
it.
best of both worlds.
Yeah.
And let's try something new. Let's, and that's the core of being Italian, is the creativity.
Yep.
We were never like a frozen people.
Is this a book that you created recipes for, or is it a book that you sort of sought out those hybridized,
It was a mix of three different things, actually. So I have a cafe bakery in Prospect Heights called Ciao Gloria, and we went on. So this is like the unofficial cookbook for Ciao Gloria. So I'd say maybe like a third of the recipes in here you can find at Ciao, and then I would say a third of them are things I created exclusively for the book. These hybrids. Or things I've always wanted to explore. And then a third of it is actually classic Italian desserts, maybe with a little tweak, maybe with a little spin, but trying to be kind of true to the original and maybe like just kind of updating it just a little, you know, because they are all, like you said before, they're grandma recipes. These are all recipes that are, you know, casalinga, you know, just made in the home. You know, there are a few kind of like chefy things in there, but for the most part, you know, an apple torte with almond flour, it's just such a simple thing. It's rustic, it's delicious. But yeah, it's me playing with American access to ingredients and classic Italian recipes and seeing where the two kind of land with each other.
Did you go to school for baking and cooking?
I didn't. I was an art major, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I studied, I was an art major with a minor in art history.
So what brought you to baking?
Well, in 2001, actually not shortly after like 9/11, actually, I decided to kind of shift careers and go from design to, I love coffee. I had a fascination with coffee and I wanted to open up a coffee shop. And a friend of mine wanted to open up a bakery. So he's like, let's put these two ideas together. And my first bakery was called Baked. And we had a location in Red Hook. We had a location in Tribeca and a location in Tokyo, too. And
wow, that's quite a combo.
It's a leap. Yeah, that's a triangle.
It's totally.
You had me Red Hook and Tribeca.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Tokyo was later on. But yeah, with that, I kind of learned how to bake. I learned on the job. And I learned all about coffee and I loved it. I did it for 13 years. And then I stepped away from it, took some time off, and I wanted to do a solo project. And I was like, you know, you go with what you know. And I really wanted to I guess, focus on my Italian heritage and explore that more. And that's how Ciao Gloria came about. And so now I've been doing that for 5 years, and people really love it. And the book just came out, so...
Did you roast your own coffee?
I wish. No. I would just work with like preferred roasters. I've worked with like Stumptown and Verve out in the West Coast, and now I'm using we use Sweet Leaf, which is actually roasted in Long Island City.
Tell them about when you roasted your own coffee.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite stories.
I enjoy the science of all this stuff.
You like to experiment.
Yeah.
He's got to get his hands dirty.
And I hated science in school. And it was never my thing. Mm-hmm. But if they had food science, I would have been like valedictorian. Because that's the stuff I enjoy. So I was at the Fancy Food Show. And from people from at least New Jersey, you would run into, you had to be in the industry to go to the Fancy Food Show.
Yeah.
And to eat the samples.
Yes.
So I would see all Italians from New Jersey. I saw this one guy who her main name was, he's like 90 years old off the boat, and he had a tag like Sally Smith, right? Because somebody who knew it was an importer gave him a tag. He'd go, shh. He had all these Italians who had no business being there, shoemakers, carpenters. Oh, I'll come over. His friend let him in, and they'd have bags, and they'd be taking samples. Oh, I got a restaurant. Could I have a sample from you? Right? And they would get all these samples, and that's why they don't allow outside people anymore.
Yeah,
because the Italians from New Jersey,
chaos.
you know, just destroyed the whole thing. So there's this lone Neapolitan coffee company from Naples. It was a very old Neapolitan coffee company. Because my aunt brought back, I don't know if she Mariulda, little Tazzina like this with his company. I felt saying, oh, I think I owe you something. And I started talking to him. I said, I remember from my childhood, we're the same age, you'll get this, is Medaglia d'Oro.
Oh, yeah.
Was like black soot.
Yeah.
And the coffee was like a trip. It was like you were flying high, right? The first time I ever pulled an all-nighter was my junior year of high school. I had an Algebra 2 exam, right? And I remember I had that big machinetta pot of coffee I made a Medaglia d'Oro on my grandmother's stove. And I didn't sleep all day. I didn't sleep for days, right? But I loved that taste, right?
Yeah.
And then it was bought out by Kraft, or somebody bought it out, and the recipe changed, and then it became brown. It looked like Maxwell's, and the taste was gone. So I get this old Neapolitan guy, and I said to him, what's the secret? It really was like a what do you call that? A movie moment, right? I said, what's the secret? Why is your coffee? Because I tasted his coffee out there. I said, why is this the taste of my childhood, right? And he said to me, because true Neapolitan coffee is very much heavily Robusta. That's the conversation we had here, right? Because John and I have coffee wars, Sicilian Neapolitan.
Yes, we do,
wars. He tells me my Neapolitan coffee stinks.
It tastes like ashes,
I love that.
You love that. That's what you want.
Taste.
That's what you're looking for,
I love that bit of taste.
Yep.
And then I found the key to the secret was heavily on the Robusta, right? So I called a guy who was British, who was a roaster in the New York metro area, who was like my age. And I said to him, because he advertised he had all these different beans, could do combos. And I called him up and I said to him, do you roast Robusta? Because Robusta's like the, oh, you don't,
Yeah,
oh, they're Arabica,
it's
you don't want
like
that.
yeah.
So he was British, and his very British accent. I call him up. I said, "Listen, can you give me a Robusta? Because I'm whacked out enough to drive to Mars
Sure.
to get a coffee blend that I
Absolutely.
like, right? Because I'm that sick." And he started to laugh. He goes, "Are you Italian American?" He said that to me. And he married an Italian American girl, and he brought his roast of espresso to like Thanksgiving when they bring him in. They're like, "Oh, this stinks. This is terrible." And he realized, he goes, "All my in-laws love this super bitter coffee that I think is disgusting, right?" But he goes, I now understand why you want the Robusta. I don't touch that stuff. Like, you got to go find someone. So I found purveyor of green Robusta beans, and I decided I'm going to roast it myself.
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
going to self-roast it. But I don't sleep at night.
Yeah.
So I do stuff at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I decide I'm going to roast my Robusta beans for my maiden voyage at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
Well, there were fire alarms going off in a lot of places. I had a house full of smoke. A lot of people woke up. It
You
was a
almost
moment.
burned down the garage, right?
I almost burned down my kitchen one time, God forbid with that. And then I went outside, I used to do it on the barbecue.
Yeah.
And then it was like fire trucks coming around. Because you got to, that's the first crack and the second crack.
Yeah.
So that was the
That's-
end of your roasting experience.
That was the end. Then I actually found somebody who actually
Gave you the blend.
gave me, already makes the blend for a coffee.
I do that. I mix-
that's the love we have for this.
Yeah. No.
If you
I mean,
get that
it's-
story, you're part of that baking tribe.
Of course, of course. I mean, it's like it all has to do with like the nostalgia of things. It's like the taste is a nostalgic. So even if it is bitter or whatever, and you try it as an adult and you're like, I don't like this. If it's something you had as a kid, you carry it with
Yeah.
you your entire life. You know.
And you know when they change those things too.
Well, you know, okay, so here's a question. So there's a Trecina recipe, which are those braided cookies, right? To me, it was something that I discovered later in life because as a kid, I would have the Stella d'Oro Roman egg biscuits.
Of course.
And I loved those.
Me too.
And I would talk about them all the time. And I'll be like, you know, and when I was writing this book, I was like, I need to add that recipe. So I started doing like the research. Roman egg biscuits don't exist. It's something Stella d'Oro kind of like came up with.
Sure, makes sense.
But then as I was doing research, I was like, oh, they're Trecine. They just changed the name. So I bought a bag of or whatever they're called, a
whatever they are
package
now,
of
yeah,
it.
package.
And I had my bakers in the kitchen, and everybody was like, here, taste these, and let me know what you think. And we all took a bite, and they were just like, it just fell out of their mouth, you know? And they were like, this is not good, you know? And I like tasted it, and I was like, you know what? It does taste different.
Yeah.
I think, you know, they played with the recipe a little, but there was that element that it was like still there. But so that's how the Trecina evolved. I was like, it needs to be a mixture of my nostalgic memory for these cookies plus, you know, what is typical in Italy.
Yeah.
So that's how that recipe developed.
I'm a loyalist to Stella. Even though they don't taste anything like they. I mean, Stella d'Oro has been sold 2 or 3 times now.
Yeah.
Since the original family from Trentino or Trieste, wherever they're from, sold it years ago, and it's just not.
It's different.
It's different, you know. And always have them in the house, basically as like a devotion to my grandmother. But
Yep.
if I could have the old taste, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
That's the one product I find that even snobby, snooty, condescending Italians don't beat up.
Stella d'Oro.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You know how they always, oh, this is a terrible,
Yeah, yeah.
I make
Yeah,
it
yeah,
better, this
Yeah.
is not the good. Well, that's the only off-the-shelf product besides, like, macaroni.
Right.
But I don't know. I've never heard, even the off-the-boat super critics,
Yeah.
never tore apart.
Yeah. It's got a great heritage, and I mean, it just an affection that people have
it's
built.
like withstood that test, you know?
Yeah. I oftentimes say that's a brand that really doesn't even know itself anymore because it's owned by, you know, it's a corporate chain, and I don't think they understand how much affection people have for
They
them.
never dunked that cookie in milk.
Yeah, never done.
What was the chocolate and vanilla ones? They were those
Marguerites.
ladies- oh,
My
they were
grandmother
fantastic.
always had. I actually have the jar. She had a cookie jar, clear cookie jar. It was a like square, rectangle, whatever, with the black and white marguerites, chocolate and vanilla. As a kid, I always ate the vanilla voraciously and just left, you know, the whole thing chocolate. She'd replenish them, and she had it there my entire life in her kitchen.
The little fudgy drop ones?
Yeah,
That was the
those.
number one.
Yeah.
Those are still the number
You'd
one.
eat the cookie around
Yeah,
it and then eat the
everybody had their version
Yep.
of how they ate it, and my wife and I talk about that all the time.
Yep.
She wasn't around. I'm a
that
full
is the
blown
most
mouthful.
brilliant thing we've ever said here.
If you do say so yourself, but it's true.
That was our Oreo.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
our Oreo. Well, it's funny because we're talking about baking, right? Like I've talked about this
true.
on the air.
That was our Oreo.
I found these because I'm an eBay psycho fanatic for Italian American products and advertising, and I found a vintage package of Salerno butter cookies
Wow.
from Chicago. And so whenever I find a vintage package, I think, is this still a local treat that you can get your hands on? And it turns up you can. I can't find any information about the company, but same conversation, because Anne-Marie, who works here, is from Wisconsin, and she was saying her and her brother grew up eating these.
But she's Medigan.
She's not.
She's
not
like, we got to
Italian.
have a
Right.
token Medigan
Yes,
person,
yes.
and we selected her to be
Somebody has
somebody to call
keep
us out.
Yeah, normal. Yeah.
You have too many Italian. You need like one. We call it the valve that lets the gas out.
Yeah,
Safety
a
valve.
Safety
She's
valve.
like our
yeah,
safety valve, yeah.
But she did say that these are from 1933. They were different than her memory. But I love this kind of stuff because the fact that we came to the United, because consumer goods in Italy are a pretty new concept, right?
Yep.
But like the fact that we came to the United States, and yes, we invented the what's the bar, the Zero Bar.
Yeah, we did research
Right?
on candy bars.
The Zero Bar is us. Payday is an Italian.
Really?
Tropicana
He was
is an
stunned.
Italian.
How many candy bars?
Yeah.
Like gooey, peanut buttery American bars, candy bars, were made by Italians.
Yeah,
right.
and a lot of products.
Okay.
Tropicana, orange juice and stuff.
Tropicana
But
stuff you would never.
I like the stuff that's not only American but also aimed at us as a consumer group, right?
Yep.
Like it's made for us by us, like Fubu used to be. And I know in like wintertime, Christmas time, this company, if they are still producing, does an anise flavored one, which I'm very excited to
Wow.
try. Yeah, that's like their big Christmas special in the Chicagoland area and stuff. So I get excited by
Yeah.
these kind of
I love that.
Yeah,
But look at the-
indigenous treats we
Look
have.
at the rainbow cookie. That's the most American thing in the world.
That's what I
Yeah.
was going to ask you. What is the most Italian American sweet?
I mean, I would say the
Is it?
rainbow cookie, just because it's like you ask any Italian and they're like, I don't know what that is, and it's like it may be in Italy here and there at this point because of like the globalization of everything, but yeah, this is a uniquely Italian American, and even like you find it in Jewish delis, you find it in bagel shops, you find it. It's like it's a New York thing too, but I would say it is that it is the Italian
Yeah, I
flag.
would
It's
say-
an almond cake. It has all these telltale signs of being an Italian pastry, but is not, and is completely American Italian.
We had like 1 million social media people working here with the studio during the feast and running around doing interviews, so I can't credit who it was. Some young lady was running around interviewing people, asking them if it was a rainbow cookie or a tricolor cookie. And she's getting different answers, but one person was like, I got pulled by my umbilical cord back to my grandparents, called it a 7-layer cookie.
Yeah.
And that is another way to describe it. I didn't even think about
I
it.
never heard that. Is that
You
a
never
Brooklyn
heard that?
phrase?
I don't know. Maybe it's a Brooklyn thing. I don't know.
I've heard 7-layer, but usually it's I think the bottom needs to have chocolate for it to be a true 7-layer.
Makes sense. There's the math.
Yeah. So we call them tricolores at Chow, and we sell them as almost like bars, like really thick. So it's like maybe like 3 or 4 in like one piece. And in the book, I made a monster version, but it's spumoni flavored.
So tell me the difference there.
So basically, you
And
start,
I was looking at that, by the way, because that looked really good.
Yeah, it's basically imagine just like an oversized 7-layer. So it's an almond cake base, but each layer is doubly flavored. So one layer is an almond cake with cocoa, another with cherry, and another with pistachio, and with like a raspberry filling in between. But it is absolutely delicious.
Do you make this at the bakery as well?
We make these,
But not the
and
big one.
I used to do like little versions of it, but the classic always outsold the spumoni. I think because like some people didn't really know, like it's not a very Italian community, so everybody's like, "What's spumoni? What's spumoni?"
Yeah, here
So,
it is. Beautiful.
yeah.
I mean, it looks gorgeous. It's like who wouldn't want that?
You got to make this Thanksgiving. Whoever's out there.
Yeah, this
I
is
hope it's released.
This is a great Thanksgiving.
Especially your Medican in-laws. who think we're limited, right?
But it's
Look
beautiful.
at that. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
And I think to your point about like being in Jewish delis and stuff like that, I think like many Italian American creations, I think the rainbow cookie, the tricolor cookie, 7-layer, whatever you call it, has jumped into the mainstream. And maybe it's just because I'm a New Yorker, but like there's a great effect. I've seen them now in like a packaged version.
Oh yeah, at the supermarket.
Yeah. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
And then they're doing, pumpkin flavor. And then I'm thinking to myself, wow, we really.
I wonder, is it pop? I mean, we travel around a lot.
Yeah.
Right. We've gone to. God's been good to us. We've been blessed. We've seen a lot of Italian America. Like I just came back from Omaha.
Oh wow.
Right, this place, you got to go. Omaha has a tremendous Sicilian community.
No way.
Yes, absolutely. Arkansas, because we've been to New Orleans and Boston, but everybody knows
Yeah.
Italians are there.
Yeah.
And I will ask questions like, in the new neighborhood, which is kind of the Facebook group of the podcast. I didn't realize Stella D'Oro made it all the way out to California.
Oh yeah.
I had always assumed it was just a New York thing,
Like a
No,
Northeast
yeah.
thing.
Northeast thing.
Yeah.
But I often wondered, were there rainbow cookies before everything kind of became nationalized and globalized? Were there rainbow cookies in California?
It's a great question.
Where were they around the United States?
Well, I can't answer that, but I did a lot of research on the black and white cookie and how it became, how it was a very typical Northeastern thing, and then how that started appearing in California and other places. And now the black and white is kind of everywhere. But it wasn't until recently that it was everywhere. I'd say within the last 20, 30 years. Because I remember going with Baked, which was an American bakery. I wrote 4 cookbooks with them, and doing that research and finding out there are things that were just so kind of hyper local. The black and white, I'd say, was one of the last things that kind of exploded around the country, and now you can go pretty much anywhere and get one.
Even Entenmann's does them now, I think.
Yeah, Entenmann's does them, and the same goes for the rainbow cookie. It's
that right?
like you said, you're finding them
Yeah.
in supermarkets,
Yeah.
and they're kind of everywhere now. So,
Is black and white an Italian thing? No.
I feel that it's more of a Northeastern thing that was co-opted by Italians and Jewish delis
Yeah.
and things. It's like I did a version here that's honey lemon ricotta. Oh. So you get that honey lemon ricotta cookie and then just like a classic chocolate and vanilla frosting on top. So I find them to be all encompassing in the sense of you'll find them in Italian bakeries. You'll find them on Italian cookie platters.
Yes.
So in my world, it is part of it.
It's so funny because one of the fun things about having done this show for so many years is not only, like Pat says, we get to travel a lot, but also a lot of our guests by now have watched the show, and so they like to bring stuff because we always joke in the beginning when we were still all the audio. Pat used to say, I get letters from the audience. They like hearing us eat and drink throughout. And it was true. You'd hear all this sort of background noise. It felt very familiar.
Let's tell the truth.
Yeah.
They all love the episode we did at Dolores' house.
Oh, we got
The
drunk.
Christmas, I was the only sober one
You
there.
were the only sober one. Yeah, the rest of
They
us
were all
got
plastic.
completely
So that is, let's call
people
a
did
spade a
like
spade.
that.
Yes.
But my point is, a lot of people have brought stuff, especially now with the camera, and we've had some really interesting regional. Like our guests that came from New Haven brought a lemon chocolate pie, and it was a very New Haven Italian thing, and they sort of gave us what they could about the history, and it was. I love that. I love going around the country and finding their little kind of local thing that maybe if the 5 Italian bakeries left all make a version of it.
Yep.
I think that's
'Cause
amazing.
We get beat up constantly by Italians from Italy
Oh God, yeah.
who constantly criticize.
Yep.
And they come in like dive bombers.
Yep.
Right.
I can name 5. Yeah.
And they're nasty, and they make nasty comments on this is a disgusting,
Yeah.
this is a terrible, and it's so contrary to who they are. And I know I
Yeah.
said it earlier because, you adapt. I mean, wherever they went, Italians made an impact. We had the gentleman on in November that spoke about one family of Italian sculptors transformed New York,
Yeah.
right? In the 18 and my thing is that what is the most Italian thing is to go somewhere and to find the product or find an ingredient and then elevate it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just bring. I mean, we got the tomato from Mexico. Who thinks of Mexico as tomato is a Mexican product now?
True.
With all due respect to Mexico, right?
Yeah,
The
people would
eggplant comes
assume
from-
it sprouted from the ground in Rome.
Yeah.
It came from Persia, but
Right.
who brought it to the highest height? Give it to us, and then we're just going to elevate it, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I love some of you just got a great. You have the Nutella. What was the cake you had in here? I thought that was fantastic. The
Gosh.
Nutella pumpkin.
Oh yeah, pumpkin Nutella loaf. Yeah.
What a great marriage.
Yeah.
that is right.
It works really well.
Cahoots,
Yeah.
right. And and I just think that's
Can we talk about, speaking of gourds, one of the things that you two clearly have a lot in common, but one of the things that I think stands out in my mind, knowing him so well, is Pat invented a Thanksgiving pie for Italian America. I don't know if you know this.
No.
You want to explain? Because it's
Yeah, what
actually
is
it's
this?
published in a cookbook as well.
published. No, I had a couple. My grandmother invented an Easter pie.
But wait a minute.
But
Let's talk
what's-
Thanksgiving.
no, that's what's in the cookbook.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what's
So
in the
this is not
cookbook.
in a cookbook.
It's not in a cookbook.
It's online.
It's online.
It's available online through Danielle
I took,
O'Terry. It was your attempt?
No,
at
that's my attempt. I'll
at a
take
pumpkin
ownership.
pie, right?
I wanted something different.
Yeah.
So I took, basically, I did everything out of my head, and Danielle actually put my soul
Numbers
sister
to it.
Put numbers to it, and you mix like how really Americanize it.
Yeah.
In Italy, especially in the area of Salerno, that my grandfather's side comes from, chestnuts are very much Christmas stuff.
Yep.
But that's a lot of work. You got to take them out of the shell. You got to boil them, peel them, mash them. Now, if you have nothing else going on, it's a great time
Afternoon,
killer,
yeah.
right? But for modern America, it's a lot of work,
Yeah.
right? And it's still not. So I like the French, another Italian mortal sin. The French make these already mashed chestnuts. in a can.
The puree.
The
Yeah.
puree.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic.
Yep.
It's like pumpkin puree. I don't want to boil my own pumpkin down.
Yeah.
So I took the puree, canned French puree. I took a fig jam or fig jelly, right? That's very typical of that area.
Yep.
And I mashed it together.
Oh, okay.
And I mix it together, right? And I add cocoa. I put cocoa in. Because fig and chestnut and cocoa, they're just fantastic. They all amalgamate.
Yep.
And I put it in a pie crust, and I put it in a pasta frolla pie crust, and I baked it. And that Thanksgiving night, I thought it was the bomb.
It sounds delicious.
It was so
It is.
good.
Yeah.
I made love
I made
to
it once for my family.
Now, some
Everybody was like head over heels.
Now, if you don't like chestnuts or bitter, it's a taste that I like. It's not for
Yeah.
everybody. I love it.
No, it's really good. It
It's
is
really
really good,
good.
yeah.
And I took Salerno. I took the Cilento Valdiviano taste powder for chestnuts and figs, and I amalgamated them into a pie because Italy's not really a pie country.
No.
It's a crostata country. It's not really a pie country.
Yep.
And I was a wow moment, right? Because it's on the same track of what you're doing. Now, in Italy, I'd be crucified. Maybe not in the South. No, we notice a lot of our criticisms come from
The North.
the North because they don't like us to begin with.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So they didn't like the people we came from. And no offense, Pat, but we get beat up. They didn't like us, and they just keep beating us up. We just get Southern people go, wow. But I thought that was like the great amalgamation.
I'm
Like,
always
let's
proud to
take-
share that with people.
Yeah.
And I like it. I like it. I make it for my family, and I think that's the thing that I found so exciting about the book arriving here and you coming on.
Just to
by the
jump in,
way-
because I go off
Yeah.
the deep end,
Yeah,
I
go
go
ahead.
off one more.
Oh, here we go.
To me, I think that Italy's golden age was the 60s
Yeah.
because they weren't enshackled.
Yep.
Right? New stuff came, new fashion came, new designs came.
They flourished.
They
It was-
flourished,
yeah.
and it didn't become like this restricted, right? Like let's take ginger and throw it all over Italy. Let's see what you come up with. Like let's take new stuff and like sushi, right?
Yeah.
Puglia loves raw fish, but just put it with rice and soy sauce, and now it's the worst thing in the world. But Italy's grown a little bit on Japanese.
It's getting
the
better,
most
yeah.
popular food in Italy that's not Italian is Japanese.
Makes
Yeah.
sense, yeah. And I've had some really great sushi meals in like
This is
Milan
just
and places like
fantastic.
that.
Yep. I find that like Italians, and this I could probably get shot for, but they tend to, in modern times, rest on their laurels.
Yeah.
When it comes to recipes, when it comes to food, when it comes to, they just think it's like, okay, we figured it out, no need to touch
Yeah.
it. And I think sometimes that will become, you'll stagnate that way.
Yeah.
It's always good to kind of like, hey, always reapproach something, always kind of reinvent something. It's good to do that. And I think that's what America does
Yeah.
because we've just always done that. We've always like, okay, we get this thing. What can we, how do
We kind of have to,
yeah,
right?
how do we
because
fiddle
of the
with it?
melting pot? And I think that
Yeah.
Italy, I think a lot of the world has told. Like I saw this the other day, right? Italy voted it once again the #1 cuisine in the world. So I think a lot of the world has told Italy like, you're the masters of this, right? Anything
No
that we
need to mess it
eat,
up.
don't mess it up. And then they rely so heavily on tourism that's coming looking for so many standardized things. That's why even in our lifetime, I'm 41. I've seen an incredible change in the sort of universality of recipes and tourist-leaning places, but not just tourist dumps.
Yeah.
Like reputable sort of mid-tier restaurants in Italy, where 15 years ago, 20 years ago, they'd never be serving pasta alla norma in a place in Tuscany. Now
Yeah.
they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that sort of like this is what people want. We
This
might as
is
well
what
do
we're
it
gonna give
well.
it to them.
Yeah, it's like that standardization, I think, comes with a lot of ossification and, frankly, a lot of anxiety
Mm-hmm.
about what Italian cuisine is.
But a lot of things too, they don't like to admit are new things. Tiramisu, right, is a post 70s.
Yeah.
Post 70s. Like,
I got news for you. There was a gentleman, I'm going to forget his name now. I met him when I worked in D.C. He was in Baltimore. He passed away a couple of years ago. He swore up and down And he invented tiramisu in Baltimore in the 1950s and was the first person to ever make it. And it was taken back by a chef that worked for him. I mean, he's passed. I don't know if his wife or widow's still alive. That'd be a great documentary to get to the bottom of. Because tiramisu is held up now as this great Italian,
like a foundational,
ever-existent thing. Yeah.
And you talk to I found especially Eastern Europeans. They have very simple cuisines, and we have a dessert, and we have a starter, and they go, Italian desserts is tiramisu. Like there's some parts of the world that now say Italy has one national dessert and one tiramisu. But Delizia al Limone, which is big on the Amalfi Coast, that came out in like the 80s, right?
Yep.
Ricotta pera, which is the bomb, right? That came out in the 1980s, right? Now they're all of the Amalfi Coast and the Sorrento Coast and where you go, and that's great.
I mean, look at ciabatta bread.
Sure, but let us experiment too.
Yeah.
You don't own the rights on experimentation.
I think a lot of this
melding
is...
and building.
And making it more interesting.
But that's the Sicilian in you too.
No, but I think that there's all kinds of...
but look at Sicily.
Yeah.
Right? That's so like couscous.
Oh,
It's a Sicilian
everything.
dish. Like you were conquered by so many different nations and peoples and Arabs and Normans that you became a salad bowl, melting pot, whatever the term of the day is, of all different cuisines. And look at all the stuff that came out of it.
It's beautiful.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no...
Let's talk about this because you brought some stuff here. This is from the bakery.
This is from the bakery, also from the book. So it's I have got here's an amalgam. It's a crostata della nonna. So it's a torta della nonna, but made as a crostata. So it has the little lattice top, and it has a vanilla pastry cream on the inside. This is a classic almond plum torte with roasted plums. You can use Italian plums or regular plums. A constant at the bakery, and we'll rotate the fruit out depending on season. You have your tricolores. This is something we created at Ciao. It's an Albi Crunch Bar, Albi for albicocca. So it's an apricot brown butter bar with hazelnuts for a little bit of crunch. And then in here, I just have a little, I have some amaretti, which is the amaretti morbidi. So they're soft on the inside and kind of crunchy on the outside. And then triple chocolate biscotti.
Wow.
Yeah. So
You're doing a yeoman's work out there. Holy cow.
And the present, that's the other Sicilian part of you, the presentation's stunning.
thank you.
I mean, look at it.
Thank you.
Neapolitan sometimes a little sloppy. It tastes delicious, but we're not. It depends.
Yeah, as long as it's good,
Yeah, you really did a great job on this.
Thank you. And these are things, talking about Italian food and Italian cuisine. I'm actually in the process, literally opening up in maybe a week, a pasta place
Oh, wow.
directly across the street from Ciao, and it's called Pasta Night. And it's going to be like my approach to this book and my approach to Ciao. It's going to be my approach to almost like I'm calling it a fine casual pasta place.
Wow.
So yeah, we'll be playing around with like mother sauces and classic
boy.
dishes, and
You think the
goes.
machine guns are turned on you for baked goods? Wait till you start going after pasta.
I
But
know.
it's like behind you as well. The other tome that we hold up so highly is Italian American by our friends from Don Angie, and that lasagna there is a perfect example.
It's genius.
They're courageous, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be courageous.
That's so true. I wanted to say that offline.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should. Did you ever have lunch with them? We should all do lunch one time.
I would love to. I haven't been able to even get in. So
He's a paisan of mine. We found out doing the show. His family's from the same town as my
now you're
my
Sanse's?
compagno. Oh, I knew. As soon as I put my mouth, I was going to get
Your
fruits
wife
in
likes
my
that
mouth.
restaurant.
Yeah.
You need a table. All of a sudden, Sansa pops
please.
in, pops out.
I'm
For
the-
5 minutes, you're Sansa.
I'm very good about being Sanse's. I haven't missed an August 5th my whole
that's
life.
True.
That's right.
True. One
My-
day a year. Your mother gets the other 364. Your father gets one.
He's so
I'm
bad.
here for the Salernitana Union to protest on behalf of Vinny.
To protest on behalf of my Salernitana relatives. So you're opening a pasta place. That's in Prospect Heights, Brooklyn.
yeah, Prospect Heights, Brooklyn. The place is going to be called Pasta Night.
Pasta Night.
And it's inspired by Southern Italian Italy in the 80s.
Oh wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
He'll be there every day.
You got to put the prices in lira.
Yeah, I should.
This is a $13, 8 million lira. You should be like, you could give somebody 1 million lira gift
Yeah,
certificate
sure,
to your
you
place.
feel like
Go,
a
oh
king.
my God.
Yeah.
He bought me 1 million lira.
It's like $11 bucks. Yeah.
I'll never forget. My dad used to say, "Drop three zeros and divide it by half." That was how we knew 1,000 lira was 50 cents, basically. So
Yeah.
every one of those little Maria Montessori I had in my pocket. was
Yeah,
50
and Da
cents.
Vinci was the old one. Remember
Yes.
went to Da Vinci
Yeah,
and Maria?
absolutely.
So what makes it a 1980s?
Just my experience. So Ciao is inspired by 50s and 60s coastal Italy in terms of design and in terms of just like the vibe. So I wanted to play off of that because they're sister shops, and this is 70s and 80s Southern Italy, which is my experience with Italy. It's like my first time in Sicily was in 1979.
Wow.
And so it was a different world. I'm coming from Queens, and I go to, like, the airport at Catania was like, they were like chickens running around, you know? So you're just like, what is this place? So that was like, that's, you know, and I talk about that in the book. My initial experiences with Italy were pretty turbulent because my parents would go every couple of years. They would say, okay, we're going for vacation for a couple of weeks, pack a bag, you know? And we'd go, and I'd end up living there for like 6 months.
Of course, yeah.
They would enroll me in school. They would, you know, and it was
Your grandparents there or here?
my entire family was there. So my immediate family were the only people here, plus the friends from the town. But as far as like Poliafitos or my mom's maiden name was Viaggio, we were the only ones.
Wow.
So
siblings?
Brother and sister. So we would go back to Italy pretty often. But every time we would go, my dad would be like, maybe we should stay, and and it would just be this extended trip. And as a kid, you're coming from, you know, playing with Transformers and G.I.
Queens, New
Joes
York.
and watching TV and, you know, like doing all this stuff. We didn't even have like a phone, you know? So it was a very different life, and it was hard for me. So as a kid, by the time I was a teenager, I was like, oh no, I can't do Italy anymore. I had to like come to terms with like understanding it again. So when I was older, I got to go to study abroad, and I was like, I'm going to go to Italy, and I'm going to go to like Florence.
Yeah.
I've never been. I want to experience
Because you're an
it.
art major.
Yeah. So I studied Renaissance art, and then I studied antiquity, in Italian antiquity, and that's where my relationship with Italy kind of started. So it came to me a little later in life.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. But as a kid, it's like I had all those connections, those things that you guys, you know. But for me, it was just like a bit troubled because I would want to be home. I would want to be with my friends, and they would be like, "No, we're going to stay here another month. You know, go up to the Vigna with your cousins." You know. And I was like, okay.
Our co-host Rosella talks about a similar experience where she is the daughter of immigrants.
Yep.
And as much as she loves Italy, like going there, staying in the town, being limited, you know, especially leaving. Rose a little younger than me, so she's not 40 yet, but like especially leaving in America in your youth at the kind of the explosion of consumer culture, right? Like you must watch TV and the toys and what movies coming out. And like, you know, I remember we lived in the UK for about a year when I was a kid. And I remember being sort of flummoxed because movies came out 3 months later. So, you know, I wanted to go to movies. My friends were seeing all these, like, you know, Star Wars, this, that, and the other. And we had to wait. Now, granted, that's not terribly consequential, but the idea being like, you're talking about the 70s, late 70s.
It's important as a kid.
Yeah,
these things are like monumental.
There's no such thing as childhood in 1979 in Sicily. It's like you're just a farmhand, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, or you know, kind of there, and it's a different world.
Yeah,
totally different world. So that's very interesting.
I know an Italian American. I think he might have come here at 18 months.
Okay.
Or his parents came right before he was born. And he grew up his whole life in the United States.
Yep.
And then, I'd say into his 20s or whatever, around that age, the family moves back, and he moves back with them. He was not married, moves back with them. So he's an American, really, living in Italy.
Yeah.
And I said to him, what do you miss most about the States? And he said, Chinese food.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like that's what makes you, that's what makes us Americans. Like, I'm eating the same thing all the time. It's like, I miss a burger. I want Mexican, but I really, really miss Chinese food.
Well, in the early 80s, there were like, as a kid, I liked McDonald's, right? So there was no McDonald's in Sicily. So I would ask my cousins, I'd be like, God, I really want like a hamburger or something. And they were like trying to like help me out, you know, and you know, you have your fill of arancini and you have your fill of that stuff. And there's certain things that you just want. And I remember once they gave, and I tried to explain what McDonald's was, and they brought back a panino, right? With just like French fries in it. And they were like, McDonald's, right? And I was like, yeah,
They
fine.
tried.
Yeah, they tried.
They well do.
They tried.
Yeah, they
you know,
tried.
but and then I remember in the 90s when I was studying there McDonald's hadn't been there yet, but there was a place called like Bergi. I don't know if you, and it was like it looked exactly like McDonald's, but it was
It's
an
like the new
Italian
Russian
version
that they're doing now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah.
And we would go to Bergi, and it would be like it would be this thing like after school we'd be like, yeah, let's go to Bergi and then have like a McBurger or whatever, like you know, some Italian equivalent to a Big Mac.
I have to say, because I love fast food. People like
John
weakens
loves-
my
he
Italian
loves- you got a lot in
credentials,
common.
but
He loves-
I love
he
fast food.
loves-
love fast food. I'm like,
he
yeah,
does. McDonald's. He goes, oh, wow.
if there was like a
You ever need a
sommelier
McDonald's, like,
for
crash?
fast food, I would
Yeah?
have the
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
hanging
Call
on-
him
yeah.
up and he'll be there
Yeah,
in 5 minutes.
I'd have the silver styrofoam container hanging from my neck. Like everything else we're talking about, somebody's been posting these things about when I was a kid in the 80s, this, U.S. consumer product had 5 ingredients, now it has 55, right? Like, everything
Yeah.
has gotten exponentially
complex,
worse and
yeah.
more complex and more chemical and artificial. And I think a lot of these fast food places join along. But I love when I go to Italy because as much as I'm like voraciously eating local Italian food, if I'm there for more than a week, I'll always sneak in like a McDonald's because it's like McDonald's used to be here. It's
Yeah.
really good. It tastes really good. It's quality
Really?
ingredients.
You think Italian? I mean, because that's
You've
not
never
my
had
scene.
that, right? Oh, it's like it's McDonald's circa 1980 something. It's like
Yeah.
really high quality.
Another compliment to Italy.
Yes,
Even their McDonald's is authentic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really, really good. And
It's different.
It's different. It's like I don't see it as a conflict of interest to my Italianness in that it's elevated McDonald's when I go to Italy and I love it. And I don't know other places around the world. I've had it. Some are better than others, but yeah, Italy's always like top
Yep.
quality. But that's the beauty of this work, right? It's like you say, Italy elevates everything put in front of it, and this is the byproduct. And I'm very excited to dig into what you've done with these
Please.
elevated products, but also then to come back and visit again when you've got the pasta shop open.
Yeah.
because that's
we'll
going to be
do
really
a postcards episode. We'll come in.
Yeah, I'd
video
I'd
episode.
love you guys to come by.
I have this beautiful stole
Oh yeah, you want to explain that because
I'm outnumbered today, so I had to take my protection. I got Sicilians all around me. Tri-State Napoli Club. We filmed there.
You did,
This
yeah.
Saturday, me and Nicky Boy.
they played Juventus.
Juventus. We had a great time at Pizzadilla Pizzeria.
I'm embarrassed to tell you, I had family stuff this weekend. How was the outcome? Naples lost. No, they won.
0-0.
Oh, it's tied.
Oh, wow.
Okay, 0-0 tie. Not bad.
And we have friends there,
Yeah,
and they gave us this scarf.
I love that.
I've come to bring it here to the shrine.
yeah. There's a Napoli. By the way, that is a Napoli scarf behind you.
Oh, thank
I
you.
put
Oh,
up.
thank you,
just so
John.
know.
You're
Just
so
you don't see any
generous.
Palermo. of
Oh,
course.
thank you.
Although this Thursday coming up, Naples is playing Palermo in the Coppa Italia, so maybe we have to have a little
I
live.
bought this. This is like, the Ukrainians put over icons. They put that stole over. I'm gonna hope to hang it around me,
Around you
and
and Dolores,
Dolores.
the two Neapolitans.
We're
There you
gonna
go.
put the little.
Perfect. Excellent. I'll take it.
Love it.
I'll put my.
Well, on behalf of the mutts that have some Sicilian in them, or as pure Sicilians over here, I am very, very happy
heart
that
is
you
all
came by.
Sicilian, John.
My brain is probably
Your brain is all
mostly
Sicilian.
Sicilian. Yeah, that's fair. That's which is something I'm proud of. But on behalf of all Sicilians, I'm very happy that you stopped by.
Thank you.
This has been really, really nice. Thank you for your patience. We had a little bit of a you were in an accident.
We had an accident driving over today.
Yeah.
But thank God.
Thank God
that was
everything's
good.
okay?
It's all
Yeah.
cosmetic stuff.
You
The guy
got-
who drove us over, he's good.
Everybody's good.
Everybody's good.
Thank God. All right, good. And here's your medicine. We're gonna dig into
Yeah.
some
Go
picolores.
and buy the book. If you don't bake, buy it anyway. Buy 10 for Christmas and
Yeah.
give everybody one, because you have to support the people who support the culture. Do you think this was easy to make? You'll never get back what you put into this.
Oh, yeah, I know.
right?
I know.
Because it takes a tremendous amount of time, a tremendous amount of effort, and this is a quality. It's coming from me. This is an excellent, outstanding baking book. If you bake at home, you got to get this book.
You're a connoisseur too. You're a collector.
Oh
You-
yeah, I have a real. Thank God, when I die, I don't know who's gonna get it, because I have a whole library, baking library, Neapolitan
do.
cookbooks and stuff like that. This is an outstanding book. Look at the products you're gonna make.
Yeah.
Like I said, buy one for you, buy one for someone you love, buy one for people you don't even like. Buy and give this for Christmas, because we got to go out. We got to support this Dolce, and don't make this a dust collector on a shelf. I hope you have dirty pages. That's when you know
Yeah,
cookbooks use.
yeah.
I hope it's all smudged with stuff and you have to buy a new one to show people, because this is absolutely fantastic, and this is a blend of Italian and American. And this is the best of both worlds, and we have to support innovators and innovation and dust off your dusty wallets and go out and Spend.
If Pat
And go to the
endorses a
restaurant,
cookbook,
too. It's fantastic.
you know it's a good one. So go out. If you're in the New York City area and you want to go over to Brooklyn to Ciao Gloria or the upcoming Pasta Night is the name,
Pasta
right?
Night,
Pasta
yep.
Night. You want to meet Renato and get a little bit of time together or just sample some of these amazing products. We're going to link everything from the show page. You'll be able to find the book, find the address, and make a visit because this is, like Pat says, the best of Italian and American. That's what we try to be. So thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
See that you're born an Italian. If you want your life to be great, see that you're born an Italiano and your life will be great. See that you're born an Italiano and your life